it's the next level.
Red Room's still active. Where is it?
I have no idea. It moves location constantly. And every widow is sedated on entry and exit for maximum security.
It's finding it hard to believe that he could stay off my radar.
Well, it's not smart to attack an Avenger if you want to stay hidden. I mean, the clue is in the name. Dreykov kills you. One of the big ones comes to avenge you.
Wait, what are the big ones?
Well, I doubt the god from space has to take an ibuprofen after a fight.
Hey, panelers, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this is going to be a spoiler-full podcast about Marvel Disney's Black Widow 2021 that just came out. And Steve and I just, can't wait to talk about this movie. It was fun to watch. I got to see it in the theater, came home, and I watched it a few more times because, Disney Plus premiere. You got that. So I had a good time watching that and having a good time taking notes and taking it all in. That is Black Widow. So, Black Widow 2021. All right, the synopsis of this particular movie. And if you've been living under a rock for the past year and a half to 2 years, I don't know. But in Marvel Studios' action-packed spy thriller Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, confronts the darker parts of her ledger when a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past arises. Pursued by a force that will stop at nothing to bring her down, Natasha must deal with her history as a spy and the broken relationships left in her wake long before she became an Avenger. So that I got right off of IMDb. I wasn't going to go straight to Disney's platform. I just wanted a strange idea. But it basically gives us an idea of a synopsis of what's going on. Even if you were not a Marvel goer or somebody who watched the movies, this was definitely a cool spy thriller. And with that, we're just going to move right along and go right into our initial thoughts. So, Steve, what were your initial thoughts?
I loved it. I don't know if it's just because it's the first time being back in the theater since I think Bad Boys for Life was the last movie I saw in the actual theater. But what amazed me, and I think there was me and maybe 6 or 8 other people I went to a matinee showing. And so it was a very small crowd, but it was the huge Grand Infinity at the Warren Theater. So it's like an IMAX size screen. And it was just great. I teared up, man. I teared up in the previews. I was like, I'm getting choked up because I'm watching previews, and I'll give us a little quick one for anybody who's out there. If you like musical movies, I'm not a huge fan of musical movies, but I think this one's going to be good. It's Jennifer Hudson starring as Aretha Franklin. Ooh. And it from the preview I saw, it looked really good. So I'm excited for that. But this movie, like I said, I hope it's not just the nostalgia of being in a theater, but I thought it was really great. And I hope other people agree. I hope the critics liked it. David Harbour and Florence Pugh absolutely knock it out of the park, man. I can't wait for us to dig a little deeper into this. There's one thing that I was a little confused about that we'll talk about that I'm sure with your knowledge of the Marvel movies, you can clear up for me.
I'll try. I'll do my best. But yeah, my initial thoughts, I loved it just like you. And I thought before the movie even started, I was starting to think, it's been over a year since I've been to a movie theater. And it was weird. And the first thing I thought as I'm sitting there and just with the trailers or even the movie just starting, these people are really ticking me off in the row ahead of me. Everybody was I guess they got stuck in their own home etiquette and just doing whatever they want. But I felt like, oh man, I don't want to go to a movie. I love the idea of treasuring and seeing it at home. I guess I'm just such a recluse. I don't know. But it was good to be and feel the interaction, smell the popcorn, eat the popcorn, have your drink. Just watch the movie on the big screen. Obviously, I don't have a big screen like that. Nobody would, unless they're a billionaire like Tony Stark. But, to me, but we also have been waiting so long for this movie, and at the end, I think we understand why we waited so long, which we will talk within our notes, or my notes, as it were. And like you, I love David Harbour. Florence Pugh did steal the movie.
Absolutely.
A lot with her character, as always, and as always, my love for Rachel Weisz. I love her. She's just amazing. She's beautiful. She's very intelligent. She's married to a Bond.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I loved all the roles that she has taken over the years. I think she came on my radar when she did The Mummy with Brendan Fraser years ago. And, I just love seeing her on film.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. So with that, we'll move right along, right into our top 5s of Black Widow 2021.
It's a fighting pose. You're a total poser.
I'm not a poser.
Oh, come on. I mean, they're great poses, but it does look like you think everyone's looking at you, like, all the time.
All that time that I spent posing, I was trying to actually do something good to make up for all the pain and suffering that we caused. Trying to be more than just a trained killer.
So you don't mind? I'll go ahead and start because
Sure.
this is my confusion is kind of the timing of this movie, because at the beginning, she's got the red hair, and
Yes.
we can tell that that's right after Ultron.
Yes.
Right. But then at the end, and this is the part that confused me, because I thought this took place right before Civil War. Captain America Civil War. Is this supposed, because it's the
Yes.
same time frame. It's the same time,
Yes.
2016. So what confused me was, and I kind of wish we had just gotten a line of dialogue right there at the end, or something that to explain, because, Natasha sends her family and the other Black Widows off in the plane, and she says, I'll take care of General Ross. I'll wait here and I'll hold him off, or something like that. Are we just to assume that she got away from him somehow? I mean, he's literally...
Yeah, that was a problem I had with the film too, because literally at the very end, you see her and they're all saying, and she's waiting there for Ross to come take her away.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they click to the other guy. I forget his name, but
yeah, they click to 2 weeks, and the graphic comes up 2 weeks later, and I'm like, what happened in those 2 weeks?
What happened with Ross, and
Yeah.
what happened with that? That was the only big flaw and issue I had with the movie.
Yeah,
Honestly.
all we needed
to correct
from
you,
go ahead.
it's literally after Civil War, because she states to Steve at one point that she had some business to take care of.
Okay, so it's after Civil War. So then it's right before Infinity.
Yes, exactly. It's
Okay,
right
so-
before Infinity War. So
Because
yeah,
she says because that's what confused me, because she's got the blonde hair,
correct.
and it says 2 weeks later, and she says, I've got to go break some friends out of prison
Yes.
to deal with something. And I
Yes.
couldn't remember if that was Civil War or Infinity War.
No,
Is
it was
Infinity War?
between Civil War and Infinity War. At the
Okay.
very end, she goes, "I have something to do" to
Okay.
Steve, literally during the funeral
Okay,
at T'Challa's. Was it T'Challa or the father?
the father's funeral. Okay,
And she basically stated that, but then things went into like full swing during Civil War, and then at the very end, it kind of left it open-handed when you saw, everything fall apart, and then that's when she went. So
okay,
her first Avengers family fell apart, so she went back, was trying to get herself stabilized within this particular movie, and then found
Right.
herself dealing with her older family.
yeah, no, I get all that. I was just confused about the timing
Yeah.
of it. So this is
Yeah.
in between Civil War and Infinity War. It was Infinity War, right?
Yes.
Because it's Endgame. Yeah, Infinity War, Endgame. I need to rewatch those movies, man.
But yeah, you're right. It was like literally, it was a lot of timing and a lot of weirdness.
Yeah, and all we needed was a quick line of dialogue from her about, I can't believe I got away from General Ross, or something like that. Just something real quick to this guy, because he says, "See what I can do when I have time and money."
And it got a Quinjet.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, that's great. I just want to know how she got away from Ross.
Yeah, exactly. Same here.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe,
Good, I'm glad
maybe
I'm
they
not the
could do
only
that
one.
as like a little webisode or something, and it's like,
Yeah.
hey, give us a little bit more. Come on, Scarlett.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that was confused by that.
No, no, I was really ticked off at that. That was the biggest issue I had with the movie,
Yeah.
if anything.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah, I do agree with you. And my number 5 would be, first and foremost, the action in the movie. Come on, this movie was filled with so much action, and I just love when Nat and Yelena break Alexei out of the prison. That was one of my favorite action scenes in the movie. It was so ongoing, the humor within it. That was by far the most memorable and favorite scenes that I had. Plus, all the scenes with Taskmaster when we first see them on screen, and I've been waiting so long to see it. The ending scene was extremely intense, with Melina destroying the flying compound that they had for the Red Room. That I enjoyed immensely. I loved it. She just had this like no F's giving, just like shooting up in the air, destroying everything. Well, sorry guys. But this is what was to propel the story to its end. No pun intended either.
Yeah.
But it to me, those scenes were like really, really cool.
Yeah, that was great. I loved when she, Dreykov locks her out of the system, so she can't do it through the computer. So, like you said, she starts shooting above her head, and she tells Yelena, "We're going into a controlled crash." I'm like, what the heck is a controlled crash? Like,
there is no such thing as a controlled crash.
Yeah, I was like, I heard her say controlled crash, and I was like, no, you're just gonna crash.
Yeah, it's like, hold on, this is a controlled flat spin. No, there is not.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell that to Tom Cruise in Top Gun.
For me, the next one I have is just all the humor throughout the movie. I love the way Marvel is able to balance the action, the drama, and the humor in these movies. I think they do really well. I did not look to see who wrote this one, but gosh, they did a really, really great job. I loved probably my 2 favorite scenes, obviously, of our that were comedic, was David Harbour trying to put his old costume on. And he's like, still fits, I'm like, that's like me when a few years ago, I tried to put my old Air Force uniform on, and yeah, that wasn't happening.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really great. I loved the other scene. I loved was it's this dramatic scene where he's trying to talk to Yelena, and he's trying to convince her to come out of the room after they had this big fight at the table, and he tells her this story of his father and him ice fishing, and he goes, and he made toilet on my hands.
I love that. I love that.
In the middle of this dramatic scene, he's like, he made toilet on my hands.
He made toilet right on my hands. She goes,
I had to look it up. Because he says 35. He says human urine is 35 degrees or something like that. And I was like, is that right? And I looked it up, and 35 degrees Celsius is like 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's hot. Like
that is hot. At least it's warm enough.
Yeah.
Right. Just don't wash your face with it.
Exactly. Oh, but yeah, the humor in the movie was great.
Yeah, the humor, especially with Yelena too, when they get off the helicopter after it crashes. We have. He goes, well, we have enough fuel to get us to St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
You sure? Yeah. Okay. And then it crashes and they come out. But he's trying to like get in touch with his daughters, quote unquote daughters. And Yelena's like, he's hugging her and he goes, and you smell. I think he would smell being in prison all that time.
Yeah. Yeah. That was great.
But, yeah. Yeah, I do enjoy that. And David Harbour was so great in this movie, too. My number 4, I love the whole feel about a broken family story within the movie. And that goes back because Yelena left the one thing that she didn't want returned to her. She didn't think she was going to go to Budapest or Budapest, depending on how you say it. And, of course, Nat has to say it like Budapest with the proper enunciation of how they say it out there. Yelena felt that that the family they had for 3 years when they were kids, when she was She was 6, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
And Nat was way older at that point. But they were a real family for 3 years, and that was real to her. And I really felt that. That was such good writing, and now I'm more understanding about the whole long intro that we got with it and how they were and how they interacted, then at the end, Nat comes to realize that she has been blessed to have not one, but two families. And she goes back to repair the Avengers family that she left behind. And that's why she wants to go back. And that's where we get her for Infinity War. And that's how we start Infinity War at that point where, she gets those people out of prison. And to me, that was a lot of heart and soul in this movie. And I understand why it took so long for us to get it, not just because of the pandemic, but also, them delaying it. There are other factors because we have Disney Plus and they already had a long scheme of what we were going to get within the show or the shows and the MCU itself and how they were going to do the storytelling. Now, mind you, it didn't really affect it too much, but it affected it enough to where when you saw this movie and you saw that end credit scene, oh, okay, that was supposed to be so-and-so's first appearance within the MCU. And, it's already been done because of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and I wonder if they did any kind of re-edit or anything, because really, I wonder if there was what am I trying to say here? I wonder if there was a longer end credit scene that would have been more of an introduction of Val, because we were supposed to get this movie before Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right?
Yes.
Long before Falcon.
Correct.
And so they would have had to have some sort of thing or some sort of lines that would put her that would explain to who she was. If it's just, Yelena talking to some woman and calling her Val, the internet would have exploded with who is this person,
with the purple streak in her hair.
Yeah. And so it's actually it's fortuitous kind of for them. I think that it went this direction. So
yes.
My next one is, maybe it's because I saw it on the gigantic Grand Infinity IMAX screen, or I don't know if it was IMAX, Grand Infinity, and they didn't have the balcony open, so I couldn't go to the balcony. I couldn't watch it from the balcony, so I'm watching it from the floor. But there were a lot of butt shots in this movie, man. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind looking at ScarJo's butt and Florence Pugh's butt at all, and even a couple shots of Rachel Weisz climbing up into the helicopter there. I'm all about it, man. But it just seemed like there was a point in the movie where I was like going, does this director have a obsession with butts?
Butts? Yeah.
Because there's one point where there's a good 2 or 3 seconds. I guess maybe I'm really obsessing too much about the butts, but ScarJo's butt is right there for 2 or 3 good long seconds.
I know what thing you're talking about. It's when she grabs the gas container and she moves back, and I'm looking at the pants going, wait, that looks like a butt flap on that pants.
I'm going, what is the deal here? I don't mind it, but man, it just was a little crazy.
There's an old meme out there of when they were filming the first Avengers, and it was, I think, Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans and somebody else looking at ScarJo's butt. And it goes, oh, horse that us, or something like that. Yeah. But the thing is that, maybe this director has something like that. Quentin Tarantino has been notorious for shooting feet.
Yeah.
So maybe this is that particular director's thing. Now, mind you, I had gotten to a discussion with my niece Madison, who and she goes, yeah, they were all talking about how they de-sexualized Scarlett Johansson's version of Black Widow over the years. I said, well, honestly, I don't mind that. In the very beginning, if you remember it, in Iron Man 2, I believe, she comes in and she is very much sexualized within that movie. Come the first Avengers, in the very beginning scene when she's strapped down in a chair, she's being sexualized at that point, being somebody to entrap somebody into something and being like a helpless woman who's beautiful. And then later on, they kind of switch that where she becomes more of a stronger emotional person, which I do enjoy. I really enjoy that fact. And I'm loving the fact that we get this kind of character, because I'm not saying for like an example for, women out there, girls out there, for the fact that it's more pure. And, mind you, we can sexualize male characters out there as well, which would be funny because we've already seen that with Jason Momoa in Aquaman. Every woman went to the movies to go see that. But to me, it shows proof in the writing and the character development. Yeah. And they've really developed this character. And at this point, we got a great movie within this character herself. And it's so sad because now we have to say goodbye to this character because, even Scarlett Johansson stated it recently within like interviews and stuff that, this is my last time portraying Natasha Romanoff as Black Widow.
Yeah.
So, unless they could do something with the mystical worlds of an alternate universe and have her come back, that would be amazing. Obviously this movie has debunked my thoughts of Yelena, with her face being taken off and then portraying as Nat. That's been debunked, which I'm fine with, but it's really upsetting for the fact that we don't get more Natasha Romanoff and Black Widow.
Yeah. So that was mine. What's your next one?
Well, I love the fact that Marvel Disney had changed Taskmaster to Antonia Dreykov. And that was hinted way back, if you think about it, in the first Avengers movie when Loki asks Nat when he stuck in that prison that they meant for Hulk. And he goes, and he was kind of like questioning her. And she goes, I have too much blood, red in my ledger. He goes, really? You could get rid of that much red out of your ledger? Dreykov's daughter? Do you think you could wash away that much red? So back then, we didn't have a clue. If you weren't a comic book reader or even inside Marvel Disney at that point, you would have no clue as to what they were talking about. Now it's coming to realization. It's like, oh, she was responsible for what she thought was the death of Antonia Dreykov. And when we got to that point when you saw Taskmaster, everything was pointing towards Dreykov. I was putting a lot of 2 and 2 together while in the theater going, I'm wondering if it's Dreykov's daughter and she never really died. Something happened to her and they're controlling her, kind of like the women in the Red Room, because that's what Yelena goes through, and she explains everything about how they're being controlled. And Taskmaster is the pet toy that Dreykov has, which is his own daughter.
Yeah.
And he goes into it with putting a chip in the back of her, and, she doesn't look normal. She's got that kind of Deathlock look to her when she takes off the helmet. And, that was a lot that they had to write in. And I thought, honestly, it was great. And that's kudos to the writers out there.
Yeah, it was great for them to take a plot point from so many years ago and basically twist it around that it never actually happened and use it for this movie. It was great. And I don't know if we're going to see the character again. I hope we are. I hope. And this is, I was going to say this when we talked about the end credit scene as well, with that setting up with Hawkeye and Yelena, that I wonder if we're going to get the Black Widows again in the Hawkeye TV show.
Oh,
is what I'm hoping is that we're going to see, and maybe get some other stuff in there as well. My next one, we've talked about a lot of what I already kind of had. So I'm just going to go on a couple of my favorite scenes that I really, really liked. And the whole face switching thing between Rachel Weisz and Scarlett Johansson was great. I completely caught me totally off guard until that moment when it's revealed. And it's just, it's another one of those humorous moments, that running gag of David Harbour every time he's opening up and trying to do something, emotional with somebody. It ends up like in the helicopter, he didn't have a headset. They couldn't hear him. And, all these things. And then in this one, he's not actually talking to Natasha. He's talking to his wife. And it's just like, oh my goodness. So that caught me. And then the other thing I really love that's kind of in that same ballpark with that is, as soon as he started talking about his pheromones, I was like, oh, she's gonna have to break her nose. And then of course we get that confirmed when we get the scene of them talking about the plan. And I had to laugh when she kept taunting him with how his punches were. And finally there at the end, she's like, and you still didn't punch good enough. I'm going to have to do this myself. And she just bashes her face into the desk there to break it. So it was just a great scene.
Definitely. I loved all those scenes. Oh, wow. My next one would be Alexei and Melina. I just love Alexei because in the beginning of the movie, you can see his love for the girls. He loved both of them equally. Yeah, it was another mission for him. And yeah, it was kind of one of those, and he kind of states it in the helicopter. He goes, oh, I was put on a mission and I had to do this and I was so bored. So bored. And it's like, oh my God. And it's like, you could tell Yelena's getting pissed off about it. Like, kind of, oh, I was cast aside. That was my world. And you could see it breaking her heart. Mm-hmm. But even though it was a mission, he did love them genuinely.
Yeah.
As well as Melina. They both knew it was a job, but both Alexei and Melina, and yes, even Yelena thought of themselves as family, but Nat really didn't see it that way. And you don't see that until that conversation between Melina and Nat when they are switching personas at that point. And you could see the tearing up in both Rachel and Scarlett's eyes when they're presenting that dialogue about that love. And I just love when Alexei just starts singing Miss American Pie to Yelena in that room. It hit all the feels, and I did shed a tear for that scene in the theater. It showed that he did care and love for this girl and this lady, and he saw her as like his own daughter. And it kind of rang through even till that, when he was in the helicopter. My girls, they come and get me. And, I just love how she, it's like, you're the Crimson Guard or
Yeah.
Crimson Dynamo. And he goes, it's the Red Guardian.
Yeah.
And Crimson Dynamo actually is a character in the Marvel Universe, which is so funny.
Oh, nice.
But the funny thing is that that was, I think we talked about it last year when we were talking about Black Widow. But, there was like this thought of, oh, in the prison, somebody comes out, they're going to be a mutant. But obviously it's not. It's just Red Guardian himself, Alexei, and him being a super soldier, the first and only super soldier out of Russia. And I just love his, he's like, I see him as like my contemporary, Captain America. And he's always asking, and the one thing that he brings up to Nat is like, he's asking literally about himself to Nat about Captain America. Has he talked to me? He talked about me. Now, mind you, it was brought up, and one of the writers or the producers, I think, was actually within that arm wrestling scene too, if you don't recall. If you could see him, he's kind of a short, slanky guy. It was the guy just before he snaps or breaks the guy's wrist. That's
nice.
bigger than he is. But it's funny because he was going on, and he talked. He goes, I don't know, 1980 something. He goes, Captain America was in ice then. And it's true. And I think Alexei was just like, it's like, I came after Captain America. So he has this thing of like competition.
Yeah.
Which just made me love the character even more. He's a little bit delusional, not too smart, but he has a good heart as it is. And that's what really led me to love him a lot. I love the cutscene when Nat and Melina come up with the scheme to dupe the Red Room and exchange their identities. You already brought it up with the masks. We've already seen that before when we were watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, if you recall. Remember? Agent Carter.
Agent Carter uses that, yeah.
Yep, she uses that, and they use that again. So that's a common thing that they used. Unfortunately, they only had so many earpieces to use. And unfortunately, like I stated, Alexei was not in on the plan and had no earpiece. And I just love the fact that, he's like opening himself up to Melina, and Melina's like, no, and he keeps going on and on. He goes, you have no earpiece. What? No earpiece.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
Yeah. I thought that whole scene was great.
It's amazing.
Let's see. I'm trying to recall if there's anything else that I really I can't wait to watch it again because it was really, really good. Gosh, man, go ahead with your last one because I'm kind of tapped out. I'm searching for scenes in my head
I know.
that I can pull out that were really good. I thought it was. I will say this real quick. I thought it was great when they get to Natasha's apartment there in Budapest, and she says, Yelena says, "Well, what kind of bullet does those marks?" And Natasha says, "Arrows." So yeah,
which is a Easter egg to her encounter, and that was her way of getting out of the Red Room and working with Clint. And those were arrows. Those were Clint's arrows.
Yeah.
When they were in Budapest, which is amazing. It's a great callback to that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're probably not going to get any flashbacks to that, but I would love to see those. My last one, which would be a lot of what I liked overall within this movie, was that it was not a current day Marvel movie. This is a past event. This is like from like 2016 or 2017 at that point. The last event of Black Widow. Unfortunately, this is, the last we'll see of Natasha Romanoff, and I really think it's really sad that, that's all we get, unless somebody in the Disney Marvel writing team is out there and comes out with some sort of variant of Black Widow. I don't know, but it's just me teasing my way of saying, hey, write this in. We want more ScarJo out there, but this was her swan song for the MCU, but left us looking at more to come, more with Yelena, which I will talk more within my notes, and we could just move right along within our notes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what I was trying to explain is that very ending scene that you brought up between Val and Yelena. And I just love how it's like the dog was named Fanny. Fanny, what was it? Fanny Longbottom?
Fanny Longbottom, yeah.
Was the name that...
Yeah,
that
the French guy had made it. I don't know who he was, but the French guy who was like her.
He was her contact and go-to to get all her stuff. But, she named the dog, and she mentioned that during that one scene, how she goes, I don't see any kids. I would have a dog. So she finally got a dog. But obviously, Yelena is working for Val. She gets paid. And she mentions something about vacation, not having a real vacation because there she is, Val. And how did Val get there right away like that? Literally, we saw like a few moments before, Val was not there. And out of the blue, she shows up.
Yeah.
Like what? Something out of the TVA. Well, she just shows up out of the blue, opening a door or window, and just is there, blowing her nose, sneezing, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Do they have something that we don't know? So, and then we know that she's working for Val. She's paid very much like, what's his name in Falcon and the Winter Soldier? The fake captain. And
U.S. agent. Yeah.
U.S. agent. Yeah, John Carter. So we got them. We already know that. She's building up a team, and I've mentioned this before, and I'm thinking the Thunderbolts, because you got Zemo as well, and you got a whole bunch of people that they could pull from. But I'm really thinking that we're going to see Yelena and Hawkeye in that show on Disney Plus, and I really think that's going to happen. That's my thoughts on that. That's one of my notes.
Okay.
You have any notes? Or?
I don't at the moment. Like I said, I only got a chance to watch it once and was just very excited to talk about it.
All right. Well, one other note, which is pretty cool. I love the fact that we get a little foreshadowing within the scene when Nat was watching a James Bond movie. One of my favorite movies as a kid, Moonraker. And with all Bond films, it seems to be a trope that the villain gives away his plot before they are taken down. Which Dreykov does. If you think about it, she kind of like manipulates him to explain everything before she severs the nerve and does all that. It's so hilarious to get to that point. I really enjoyed that. Plus the fact that the Red Room was in the air, just very much similar to within Moonraker. Moonraker was in space, obviously, but this was in air. So it was pretty cool to have that equation to that particular movie as well. And plus, Taskmaster can be looked at kind of like Jaws within Moonraker itself in the film. he was, in the movie, he was used by the big bad to do his own bidding and stuff like that. And at the very end, he tries to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. Next one would be, I just love that Yelena makes the joke that Nat does the superhero landing and flips her hair up.
Yeah, it was great. I love it when she did that, falling through the vent, and she goes, "Ugh, such a poser."
Like in disgust. Yeah, such a poser. That had me on the floor laughing when I watched it.
And if you didn't catch it, I'm sure you did because you had multiple viewings. Taskmaster even does that move.
Yes,
they're fighting each other, and then later I caught that line from Dreykov where he says that she can mimic whoever she's fighting.
Well, or what she has seen.
Yeah.
And the thing also is you could see the claw snapping from like Black Panther,
Mm-hmm.
the kick up of the shield from like Bucky
Right.
when he was the Winter Soldier. A lot of things that Cap has done, Bart has done.
Yeah,
Black
she's got
Widow
it all.
She's got it all. Everything. She's memorized and mimicked everything. And that's the whole point of Taskmaster. That's they learn and she had a whole catalog of moves and movement within fighting schemes to work with people. And they brought that all out within this movie.
Yeah.
And I really love it. And that's pretty much it when it comes to my notes.
Well, you've got one here, and I want to talk about it a little bit because it is a trope in the Marvel movies that the few non-powered superheroes that we have really do seem to heal and take beatings and recover rather quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said in your notes, we see her bounce off things to slow her fall through the air, and there's basically it has no effect on her. We've seen this in other places, and it's just one of those tropes that we just have to suspend our disbelief and just go, they've got to have some way for a non-super powered human to be with these superpowered people, so.
Yeah. I forgot I left that in there. I didn't mention it, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, I did have to suspend my disbelief because I was like, wait, she fell off the top part of the building, fell on this, fell on that, do this, do that. But yet, at least they acknowledge it to some degree. She goes, "Oh, I thought you'd send one of your super friends, and then she's looking, they're both changing, and she could see Yelena's seeing the bruises on her back.
Yeah.
And it shows that, she is human.
Yeah.
But, a lot of those things are like really good coincidences that she's able to get through all this stuff,
Yeah. Well, and just like you in quotes, what does Yelena say? She says something like, "I'm sure Thor, the space god, doesn't need an ibuprofen after a fight."
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I need an ibuprofen after a podcast, man. But go ahead, you've got some quotes there.
My first one would be "Pain only makes us stronger," and that was Natasha saying that to Melina, which she had learned from Melina. That was what had kept her alive all those years. That was that little conversation as they were both changing identities, and that's what really sparked a tear to my eye for the fact that you saw in Melina's eyes that she did care for these kids. Yes, she was a puppet. She was used just like Alexei and the kids themselves. But when Yelena actually mentioned that I was one of those girls, I was one of them that was being manipulated. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know who she was. Where with Natasha, she was more with pheromones. And that's what Dreykov had a control on her for. Whereas the others were controlled almost like with computer. So, but, that whole "pain only makes us stronger" it really hit hard. Next one would be, "You should know that I'm a better shot when I'm pissed off." And that was Natasha to Taskmaster just after the car crash on the bridge in the very beginning of the movie. And then Yelena just saying it to herself while she's in the helicopter. She goes, "You're such a poser." And that was when after Natasha lands with the superhero landing and whip of the hair, the true superhero landing, which we all love. But those are the only few that I have from. I could have put a whole lot more, but I don't want it to be like 2 hours long. This should be only a short one, just giving our thoughts and what we appreciated about the movie, some of the flaws, but not too many. But overall, I think, honestly, in my opinion, a really, really good movie. It took way too long to get to where we are now to see this.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant like a criticism of the movie that it was way too long. I was like, dude, it was great.
Oh, it was great.
No,
it was
we
over
had
2
to-
hours,
we had
but
to wait too long for it.
we had
I
to
got
wait,
you. Yes,
too
yes,
long. This
yes.
is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not gonna necessarily put this up there as one of my favorites, but it's definitely gonna be in the top 10, man. Because I really like David Harbour, and like you said, like we talked about at the beginning, Florence Pugh, they all just knock it out of the park, and so it's going to be up there for sure. It's going to be one that I'm going to want to watch again, and it would be one that if I were purchasing physical media, I would probably purchase a physical media for it.
Yeah, same here. I always purchase all the Marvel media, but I would definitely put this up in my top 10, and that goes along with Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And that one I really loved because not just because the espionage, the writing in it was amazing.
Yeah.
As well as Civil War as well, because I just love that movie as intensely as these. So yeah, this takes place, it takes over a lot of others. Yeah. There are little flaws. Yeah, I do agree, but I enjoy it nonetheless.
Overall, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you want to just take us home?
Yeah, well, to submit your feedback, we can be heard on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or whatever podcast player of choice that you use. If a rating is available, just give us a rating or a review if it's possible on those platforms.
You can check out our website at panelstopixelspodcast.com.
Yep. Or you could submit your theories and feedback and just go to our Facebook group, which would be facebook.com/panelstopixels.
And as always, we have the email panelstopixels1@gmail.com. Panelstopixels1, the TO spelled out right in the middle, the number 1 @gmail.com.
And you could find us on YouTube as well. You could just search Panels to Pixels Podcast and just please give us a thumbs up or subscribe.
Next up for us is the final episode of Loki. It's been a great season so far, and we can't wait to see how Marvel wraps it up. So look for that later this week.
But where else can listeners hear us? Well, I could be heard on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network, and we cover action films, adventure films, suspense films, thriller films, basically anything that gets your adrenaline going. So check me out on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. The last episode that I put out was Baby Driver. Look forward to Atomic Blonde coming out next, and that will be Wendy and I, and we'll be covering that.
Very cool. And I send voicemails to many of our friends' podcasts and love to hear those. So check those out.
All right. Well, I just love doing what we're doing, and we have fun with this, and I was so glad to see this film. I'm glad Steve and I got a chance to cover it within the time that the movie came out. And I just want to thank everyone for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels. And we'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.